1, 2, 3, 4. Hey!
Hey, yo, this is the ODcast. Hey, yo, this is the ODcast. Hey, yo, this is the ODcast. Hey. This is the ODcast. Hey.
Should we do it again?
Yeah, maybe one more time. On 182. Lucky Blink 182.
We should not bring Blink 182 on this topic of metal.
They have some heavy moments.
No, dude. No.
Here's a question for the fans. Is Blink 182 metal? And obviously, no. They're pop punk. But how heavy can pop punk be before it turns into metal?
I mean, Travis Barker can bring the intensity. I don't know about the other two members.
True. Yeah. I heard on their last album, Travis used double bass for the first time.
Why are you bringing Blink? Oh my god.
What?
Okay,
Do you just
you said
hate any
182.
mention of Blink 182?
I hate that band.
Really?
I've been traumatized as that band as a kid.
Songwriters.
What? Well, you like I Miss You?
That's an okay song, but as far as like catchy pop punk melodies, they do it better than anyone else did in that era.
It's better than Screeching Weasel.
I've never even
Dude,
heard
you're
of
from
that band.
Chicago, you don't know Screeching Weasel?
Just because a band is from Chicago doesn't mean they're good. Case in point, my shirt. But
I mean, you do like Wilco, and they're from Chicago, and I don't like Wilco.
yeah, but my like of Wilco doesn't have anything to do with where they're from. I would say I generally don't care where a band is from.
Okay, episode 23 of the ODcast. Thank you for all the viewers who watched 22 with Tribe Called Quest and Jay-Z. That was fun.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn to choose a topic, and I really like the whole album versus album thing. And I decided to do metal for the fact that we haven't done metal in a long while. And I've been talking to some fans here and there, and they really want us to do metal again. But like, we're not metal people, you know? I mean, I do like metal. I do enjoy metal. But do I call myself a metalhead? No. Do you call yourself a metalhead?
Definitely not, but I have to say, this is one of the many reasons I love doing this podcast, because it gets me to listen to stuff that I wouldn't choose to listen to. And I will have to say, in the last couple weeks, I've gotten really into metal. I see why people live with metal, because it's like drinking coffee in the morning. It gets my blood pumping, and I need more of that in my life. And I usually just kind of like put on stuff that matches my usual mood, which is kind of down tempo, sad,
lo-fi hip hop songs from YouTube.
That vibe, but I don't actually listen to lo-fi hip hop, but that kind of vibe. And I need more metal in my life, because I want more like speed up.
You want more like SZA, but like more chill SZA music. Or which one's the one that you introduced me to? Solange, right? So Solange, no?
Solange is good.
Yeah.
I would say I like SZA more. And yeah, that kind of like stoner R&B, like smoke a blunt and go into the studio and make some trap beats. But I don't listen to that much R&B or hip hop either. I just the energy level is what I've been kind of missing.
Okay.
And I didn't realize how big an impact. I mean, I should have known this. Music has a huge impact on your mood, but even just like commuting to work on the train, usually I'll listen to like a podcast and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm tired. Fall asleep on the train. But metal, like, it gets me like amped for the day. So I don't know if that's all the metal heads out there. You can weigh in on this, but let us know why you listen to metal. Is it for energy, or is it... I've also heard like metal heads like it to get out aggression.
Yeah, it is. It's a great way to get the aggression out.
Yeah. I think I can see that too. And then you're less of an asshole in your regular life because you go to a show and...
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine. She, sociologically speaking, she was telling me like how sometimes metalheads have a bad reputation of being mean and, they look like jerks and all that stuff, but in reality, they're like sweethearts.
The nicest people.
The nicest people out there. And maybe that's the reason why they listen to metal, because if they don't listen to metal and if they just keep that aggression in, they're just going to be angry all the time, you know? So at least they have some kind of thing to channel out that aggression so they can be nice.
You know, just playing that Angel of Death intro, I feel really calm and relaxed right now. After, like, the stress of trying to play that fast riff.
Yeah.
Like, I usually don't feel this calm after our intro. I'm usually a little wound up, like, did I do that right?
No, dude.
Here, I don't really care.
I feel wound up because I'm like, ugh.
Wow, I feel the opposite. I feel great.
I mean, I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I wanted to perfect that. But at the same time, I should just let it go. Just let it go. Let it happen.
If you couldn't tell by watching us butcher that Angel of Death riff and solo, we're not practiced with playing this genre. It takes a lot of discipline and years of practice to get like the speed, and it's more about accuracy and precision.
Yeah, totally.
Which when we get to one of the albums, I have some inside news about the recording I want to unload that makes me feel like there was some cheating involved in some
for
of these
both
albums.
I know for
I
one
only
of them.
know for one of them.
Yes. We'll talk about that.
Do you want to introduce what the albums are?
Yeah, so, I said let's do, like, since Dylan said on episode 22, your favorite 90s hip-hop album, and you went with Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, and I went with A Tribe Called Quest, I was, like, thinking, why don't we just do our favorite metal albums of all time, period? Which is hard to choose because there's a lot of subgenres in metal.
Right.
And there's a lot of metal music, period. But my favorite is Rain and Blood by Slayer, released in 1986.
Yep.
And what is yours?
I went with And Justice for All by Metallica. And I want to, once again, air some dirty laundry about our personal relationship. I sent you a text. I was like, this is my pick. Your response was, and I quote, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then you said, okay. I have the receipts, and I will
believe it.
I will share them.
I stand my ground to it.
But you didn't elaborate when I was like, why do you say that? You were like, I'll save it for the podcast. So here's your chance. Tell me why you responded.
Do you want
to
talk about Injustice for All now? Or should we go? I mean, I think it's part
I
of the
just
dirty
know
laundry.
why you said that. Like, what do you just hate this album? Is that it?
I mean, it's not the best Metallica album. Master of Puppets is better.
True.
I mean, I still need to listen to more of Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning because those are the best ones. But like, as a kid, like, okay, if you see movies or music as a kid or a teenager and you think to yourself, that was a great time, but let me leave it there because if I listen to it now, it's just going to ruin it. I'll give you an example. As a kid, I loved The Mask with Jim Carrey. Loved it. And then in my early 20s, I was like, man, let me watch it, see if it's good. One of the biggest regrets in my life because that movie was cringe. And like the
special effects though hold up. They look pretty good.
No, they don't, dude. They don't. So I kind of feel like I should have watched it. Should have left it in my childhood instead of watching it now. Now like I cringe thinking about it. Same thing with Injustice for All. I liked it a lot when I was like a teenager, high school years. And then listening to it again, knowing the drama behind this album, makes me not like it.
Yeah. I mean, that's partly why I chose it, because I think there's a lot of interesting topics about it.
But is it your favorite? Seriously, is it your favorite?
It actually is. And I'll tell you why. It's like they say this about the Dark Souls video game series. Like the first one you play, there's like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. The first one you play is your favorite. And that was the first Metallica album I ever heard.
Okay. See, I cannot argue against you there, okay? For sentimental reasons. I get that. But this is another reason why your receipts of "Are you effing kidding me?" Okay. You're comparing this album to Rain and Blood.
Yeah, and I feel like it's actually a good comparison.
No, it's
a couple years apart, and it's also their third or fourth album. Slayer's third album, Rain and Blood, and Metallica's fourth album. Yeah. So it's like it's like the early part of their career. And after you responded to that way, I looked it up and was like, what are general opinions of fans about this album? And on like Reddit threads of like list your top Metallica albums, there's a healthy, like, not majority, but a lot of people choose this one as number one. Despite the terrible mix, which we'll talk about, and the drama surrounding the new first album with their new bassist Jason Newsted. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the main reason it's kind of hated and has a bad reputation is because of that whole drama. But as far as songwriting goes, it's like their proggiest album.
It is very proggy.
And I think that deserves some merit and respect, like long songs.
Some merit, some respect, but not full.
No, and it's my favorite Metallica album, or the one I have the most sentimental attachment to, but it's not one of my favorite albums of all time by any means. So I just chose, I'm not, like I said, I wasn't a metalhead, and after these last couple weeks, I want to go back and hear other Slayer albums, other Metallica albums.
You know, I received the polar opposite effect. You because
you're
of this,
sick of metal now?
Not I'm not that I'm sick of metal. I'm sick of Injustice for All. I listened to it 6 times trying to figure out why you like this album.
And I have to say I don't really like it anymore either. I think it has like 4 or 5 all-time great Metallica songs, and then the middle chunk really slumps for me.
Yeah.
I think the middle like third is not very memorable. Oh my God. But some of them, especially the remastered like fan-made bass-heavy versions, I think they sound really good, and it's some of Metallica's best work. Maybe we'll start with Rain and Blood though, because it's 86, and Justice for All is what?
88. Yeah. But before we do that, you brought some drinks.
Yeah, I just tried to get the most metal-looking thing I could find, and also it's St. Patrick's Day, so you've got the green Monster Beast.
Yes. We're recording this on St. Patrick's Day. And
right.
Dylan's going with the red. So
what do you think?
I'm going to open it, but you said this is the most metal thing, right? This gives me new metal vibes.
Yeah. Which both bands have flirted with new metal later in their career.
Totally. What was the Slayer's album that was metal? New metal.
Christ Illusion.
No. Before that, it was like Devil, Demonica Musica, something like that.
Something like that. I get all their titles.
It's their like slowest album, but it's very good.
Oh, really?
I mean,
I didn't know you were going to say that.
But like it's slow by one like measurement slower, but you know.
I was curious reading about their new metal phase, and I did look that up, and I did like the sound of Slayer doing new metal.
So Monster's doing alcohol now? I mean,
don't worry, there's no caffeine in it.
Oh, come on. Do you remember back in your teenage years drinking Four Loko when it was legal, like the original?
I never got to try it.
Dude.
I was underage, and then it went on. It was outlawed.
I did drink that underage. Oh, you're right.
There were so many scary news stories about that, like people dying and stuff.
It's intense.
Did anyone actually die from Four Loko?
No, they were hospitalized at least.
Well, we are mixing coffee and this, so if we drink enough of these, we might be hospitalized too.
I mean, we should drink water too, but forget it. But okay. This is okay. It's Monster.
I think that's my least favorite one because it tastes the most like Monster. The others are a little less heavy on the Monster flavor, but that's like the classic.
Do you have a favorite energy drink? I don't drink energy drinks.
I actually really like some of the new ones that have come out, like Celsius and Rise, or I forget, but they don't taste like chemically Red Bull, taurine shit. It's like more smooth tasting.
I like the... What's the one with the Arizona iced tea one? That's like energy.
They have a full-on energy drink.
It's not an energy drink, but it's their way of doing an energy drink with still having natural flavors.
No, I haven't had that.
I like that one, and I like the yerba mate one. That you see it everywhere at Whole Foods.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay. Damn. Now
if you see my computer go full black screen, tell me.
I'll let you know.
Screensaver's fine, but I don't want it to go black.
Okay.
So we should jump into Rain and Blood, unless you have any. I think we should both preface each album with some of our personal history of the album. I will say I had never heard the full Rain and Blood album before you assigned it, but I had heard Angel of Death and Rain in Blood, or Raining Blood. Mm. Raining Blood is the last song on the album Rain in Blood. Slight play on words there. those songs are infamous, especially Angel of Death, and I like downloaded it on LimeWire when I was in high school and freaked out like everyone else does when they first hear Angel of Death. Cause
in a good way or in a bad way? Like, did you want to go to church afterwards?
I was terrified.
Oh, wow.
No, because like you hear about this band and then you hear the song and this is the big controversy surrounding the album that people thought they were like Nazi sympathizers and stuff because of the lyrics.
You know, when I first heard about that, I thought they were, but then like did my research and they're not Nazi sympathizers. Like,
yeah,
you know,
of course not.
What's the name of the bassist? Tom?
Yeah, Tom Araya, Chilean guy.
Yeah, he's a Chilean guy, and he, from what I've heard last time, he is still a practicing Catholic.
Yeah,
and so I mean, when he's talking about Nazi stuff, it makes me laugh because he knows that it's a joke, you know. And also, Dave Lombardo is Cuban American.
Yeah.
If they were huge Nazis, if Kerry King was a huge Nazi, he would not have invited them to be in the band. So
totally, but we heard this stuff probably in like the early 2000s. I'm guessing when you can look stuff up easily on the internet.
Like during the same controversy as Marilyn Manson, like surgically removing a rib so he can pleasure himself. It's one of those rumors.
Yeah, except in '86, this had real consequences for them. Their label wouldn't put it out. They were probably like hated by a large portion of the world for a song that it wasn't even what they intended with the song.
We're still talking about Raining Blood, but I'm just going back to what you were saying about metal. One of the reasons I like metal, I like to be creeped out. I like to be scared, and music doesn't do that well to me. Like there's hardly any moments where it scares me. There are some songs in jazz where it does. I do feel frightened. But metal is one of them. Unfortunately, Slayer doesn't scare me, but we talked about this. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, that song scares me, and that's a metal album, arguably the first metal song in rock and roll history, but that's an argument. But that's one of the reasons I like metal. There are certain spots where it frightens me.
I get that vibe from like Cannibal Corpse and certain death metal where it's like an album version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something. That stuff's pretty gruesome. And I went back and heard Slayer's second album. Is that the one that's like Hell Awaits or something?
Something like that, yeah.
There's songs that are straight up like horror movie vibe. There's a song about being a vampire. Like we awake at dusk or something. I don't know. We can fact check that. But
have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah, I have.
I should watch it.
There's so many fucking remakes at
No,
this
I'm
point.
talking about the original
I
one.
have seen the original. I think I've seen one of the remakes too.
Here's a little tidbit. Do you consider Guns N' Roses metal? I don't, but let's
them like glam,
hard
rock, glam metal.
The cinematographer of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the same cinematographer of the music video of November Rain. So,
really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's a good little factoid there. So this album doesn't scare you, or Slayer in general doesn't scare you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, at first I was a little bit like, no, what's the word? Like, intimidated by them, especially with the whole Nazi thing. But like when I talked to a friend of mine, they told me like, don't take it seriously. You know, they're not that. You know, because this is like around the time where I was still getting into punk, and I really like punk that had like left-leaning views, and I was totally opposed to right-leaning views. So I was worried that maybe Slayer will be the same category as like a punk band like Screwdriver. You know?
Are they like white supremacists?
Screwdriver their first EP was like an oi punk band, played like some good, like not pop punk like you were talking about, but they were playing some good punk music, and then after that, they just went full on white supremacist.
Yikes! Yeah, I have heard about that band and never listened to them. Thankfully,
even on the EP, they covered the Who song, so it was very interesting. So another thing about these two bands, they're both from California. Metallica's from San Francisco, and I think Slayer too, or LA.
Slayer's from LA.
So they decided to talk to Rick Rubin and say, "Hey, let's make an album."
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Rick Rubin connection. I didn't know that till researching this album.
Yeah,
and it's their first one with him. And that's super odd.
Could this be arguably Rick Rubin's best work? Or are you going to say, no, I prefer Johnny Cash?
No. Rick Rubin's a weird guy in that I don't have a ton of respect for him as a producer.
Thank you for saying that. I agree. Like, I respect him a lot in this, and also like in Johnny Cash, but also people forget.
Oh, there's Brooke.
Brooke is here. We'll pause it for now.
Yeah, but I want to stay on the topic of Rick Rubin.
We will.
Hi, Brooke.
Is the clown still there when you saw it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Come on in. We are pausing for your entry.
Okay, going back on Rick Rubin.
Hold on. Let me tell Brooke, after you get settled, and if you want to weigh in on these bands, because you heard them well too, you can hop on.
No, but we would like to hear a female perspective of this.
Female.
Yeah. No, seriously, because like another thing that sucks about metal music, it's kind of like taken by male people, and it's kind of a letdown. I want to see more variety.
Yeah, that is true. There's got to be more now, but I can't really think of fully like all female metal.
I mean, there was
bands.
Wendy O. Williams back in the day, which I still haven't heard her music.
I don't know who that is.
You haven't? Oh, check her out.
Who? What's the name?
Wendy O. Williams.
Okay.
She was like a PG version of G.J. Allen.
Wow. All right.
Rick Rubin.
Yeah, Rick Rubin. I think some of his best work was with the Chili Peppers. Blood Sugar Sex Magic is one of my favorite albums.
I mean, I was gonna say that like also people forget that he did some stinkers. Like he did like the majority of all the like South Park music and from the 90s, like Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh.
I thought that was like, I never watched South Park, but I thought that was well respected stuff.
But like musically speaking, that was produced by Rick Rubin.
See, Rick, I'm not surprised at all he has stinkers in his catalog as a producer, because he said himself he has no musical input, really. I mean, input...
Yeah, it's more like a philosophical input.
Right.
Like, what do you want, guys?
So if the artist isn't bringing it, and like he has nothing to work with.
But at the same time, he's taking credit for the artist's work, which is annoying.
He's like a weird like Zen life coach of a producer. But not every... I found it interesting that Slayer in their like 2010 period, when they like Dave Lombardo came back and they were trying to work with Rick again, and he kind of was like ghosting them. Like I saw a Tom Araya interview where he was like, we really wanted Rick to produce the whole album in like 2013, one of their more recent albums, and he only wanted to do a couple songs, and he was like kind of pushing him off on some other producers, and so they were like, okay, if you don't do the whole album, we'll go somewhere else. And they were bummed about it. At least Tom was. He wanted to work with Rick again. And I think they did a few albums together.
Yeah, they have.
But Rain and Blood is their first. And based on what I've heard of their first two albums, he had a positive influence.
Yeah.
But it got really like in your face, dry, like punk mix for this metal sound. I heard they like took away all the reverbs on drums and stuff and guitars.
I mean, that's one reason why I love this album a lot. There's like a lot of punk influence to it, but it's still heavy, like heavier than some other metal bands out there. And one thing about metal, which you can take it as a compliment or an insult, sometimes it can be corny very quick. For some reason, I don't feel the corniness in Slayer. I mean, there's moments where it is, but like it's.
If you read along the lyrics, it gets corny.
It can get corny.
But thankfully, when you're listening to it, the way it's delivered is never corny. I don't think. Yeah, it's just so intense.
I mean, I do like the lyrics of "Jesus Saves," which is a song that I normally cover by myself.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it for the podcast.
I was about to ask you.
No, and I play it with the acoustic.
You're only making a better case for why you should give us a taste of it.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Why not? You have a platform to share your cover.
No. Maybe another time.
What is that? See, like I said, I've heard the album like maybe 4 or 5 times. It's thankfully really short. It's like 35 minutes, so I could just...
That's another argument why I think this album is great.
and better than the like hour plus and Justice for All.
What's the song after one?
It's either like Harvester of Sorrow or Eye of the
Beholder.
Yeah, I think it's Eye of the Beholder. Like I said, right after one is when like the next...
Shortest Straw.
Oh, The Shortest Straw is a decent song.
So like halfway through The Shortest Straw, or at the end of The Shortest Straw, that's the end of Slayer, Raining Blood. And Shortest Straw is the 5th track.
Yeah, that's why it's a tough comparison. And I don't want to get too off track of Slayer, but yeah, it's like comparing a punk album to a prog rock album at the end of the day.
Yeah, dude.
They're both metal. If you just take isolated snippets, there's some similar vibes. Like when Metallica really goes hard on some of their faster riffs. Yeah. It's not worlds away from Slayer, but it's the overall arrangement that's much more bloated.
Okay. Well, let's put a pin on that because I do want to talk about that, but that's something else.
Of course, yeah. Let's talk more about Rain and Blood. When did you first hear this album?
Teenager. I have a friend. Like she told me that I should check out Seasons of the Abyss, and I didn't like it. I don't know. This is my first time listening to it. I didn't care for it. Now I love it. Like I just thought it was corny, you know. But you know, when I told her that I didn't care for it, she was like, "Just give it more of a try. If you didn't like it, that's fine. But listen to the other stuff. Listen to other stuff." Had another friend, he told me his favorite was Raining Blood, and was like, "All right, you got good taste in music. I'll give it a chance," and I loved it. The part that hooked me, that got me, is like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna listen to this," is the beginning of Angel of Death when Tom is screaming, and I'm thinking to myself, "That is some great guitar work." Oh no, it's not guitar; it's a guy screaming.
Yeah, that scream is incredible.
So good.
I will say he uses that same kind of trick a couple times in the album. He does the same high-pitched scream.
Yeah.
And if I had to critique this album a little bit, there's some samey riffs, like when they do the there's like 3 or 4 songs on the album that have almost an identical riff. But it's cool. It's like that's where they were.
But it's short. It's short. It doesn't bother. It doesn't like. Sorry if I'm doing this aggressive, and I'm not saying that to you. But okay. Like it's once you think that's annoying, there's another song. So like you don't have time to digest the filter, you know, the filterness of the album. When I don't think there's any filter, in my opinion. Yeah,
the songs like a good punk song, they get in, get out.
Yeah,
like the second song, Piece by Piece. I was listening to it again. I'm like, there's got to be a guitar solo coming, and then nope, it ends. It's like probably 2.5 minutes or something.
And as I'm listening to this, I just love Dave Lombardo. Yeah. Dave is one of the best one of the best drummers of all time, and sure. If I have to choose his you know his master for peace, it might be this. It might be Rain and Blood. But I know he does more. I know he's in Mr. Bungle. I know he plays jazz. I know he does a lot of things.
Has he been like the main drummer of Mr. Bungle?
I think so.
Whole...
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Because that means I've heard him in other stuff before and didn't know it was him. Because I've listened to some Mr. Bungle. He has an interesting instrumental percussion album from I think last year that I heard part of.
Oh shit! I'll definitely check that out.
It has percussion in the title, like cosmic percussion, something like that.
I'm a sucker for it, and especially he's Cuban, so it's obviously in his blood. He knows that it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be very good. Cubans. They're good with their rhythm. I love me some Cuban music.
Yeah.
Love it. I mean, I love it. My 3 favorite countries, Latin countries, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, of Latin music. 1 is Mexico, by default, by being biased. 2 is Cuba. And 3, as much as I hate saying it because I'm not trying to be racist here, but some Argentinian folks can be too much. Argentina is so good. Argentinian music is so good. Very good.
Cool. Like, you'll have to recommend me some stuff from each country.
What do you want? Oh, sorry. I thought you want like from Argentina.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I want to hear because I haven't listened to specifically Argentinian music, I don't think, unless you've played me some before.
I mean, the Fabulous Cadillacs, they're from Argentina, and they're a ska band. And I think they're the third greatest ska band of all time.
I can't get into ska.
I understand. I get it.
In fact, to segue back to Slayer, like, I'm not a metalhead. We already covered this, but I would say I'm even less of a punk fan, especially like hardcore punk, than I am a metal fan. I like metal more.
But you hear the inspiration of hardcore and punk on Raining Blood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the part that's more foreign to me. Like heavy chugging, like Black Sabbath inspired riffs. Like, I feel I like identify and I'm more familiar with that part. But the speed and aggression of hardcore punk has never been something I've wanted to seek out. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm into like fast, heavy music, maybe I will give like Black Flag and stuff another chance.
But Black Flag is not the best one, because as Black Flag progresses, they were more inspired by Black Sabbath, like slower, chuggier things. They were not quick. I would recommend Bad Brains for you.
Okay. Yeah, I do like all the Bad Brains. Or don't they have some like reggae influences?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm sounding very pretentious. Like, yeah, of course. I heard this little story of Bad Brains. I don't know if it's true, but I would love to believe it's true. That originally Bad Brains was going to play like proggy fusion jazz music, like Mahavishnu, Pink Floyd, that kind of stuff, with a mixture of reggae. But they went to see the Ramones, and that changed their life. So,
that's cool.
In my opinion, I think Bad Brains, they're not my favorite, but they're the greatest hardcore punk band of all time. And I'm just happy to hear that it was a band that was inspired by jazz and prog elements, because I always want there to be a connection with jazz and punk, and some people don't want that to be one, but I'm thinking it's a good thing to have a connection to it. But I don't have proof. Cool. I don't have receipts behind that. But we're not talking about Bad Brains.
No, but on the topic of hardcore punk in general, like, since you just said this album is inspired by punk, and you can definitely hear that, would a band like Slayer, do you think they would have been listening to something like the Bad Brains at this time and been inspired by it?
I don't know about Kerry King, but definitely Tom and Dave.
I saw something interesting. Why? Because they're not white?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I guess. That's funny.
Is that part of... because we all know representation is important in media and stuff. So to see two Latin American guys in one of the biggest metal bands of all time, do you think that like kind of got you more interested in
totally,
them?
Especially Tom, because I didn't know Dave was Cuban until later on. Yeah, totally. It was Tom that got me into it, you know? And there's a lot of Mexicans that loves metal, you know? But like, unfortunately, because of this is like before Google, and like this is like LimeWire and all that stuff. They put like all the Mexican metalheads in the same umbrella of like, oh, if you listen to Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, Soundgarden, you're a metalhead.
What? Those aren't even metal bands.
I know, but that's how they put it all in one.
Who is they? Who is making this category?
I'm just saying, from looking in the sociological aspect of my culture, that's how it is. That's how it was.
I don't get why you bring up those three bands.
Because I see it everywhere all the time. When I go to Mexico City or Mexico period, someone that likes metal, they like Sepultura, they always put like Nirvana stickers and all that stuff, because that's the only stuff they could find at that time.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense that those be like three of the biggest bands of like grunge.
And they also like Brujeria, that is another metal band from Mexico.
Is that like from the Bruja, like witch?
Yeah,
is that?
Yeah, which means witchcraft in Spanish.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Man, drinking this coffee in the Monster makes me talk fast. I should just tame it down a bit.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Wink, wink. Just Dave's drumming is so good in this album. I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me, I had an idea to maybe compare each like part of each band to another, and on the drumming level, Dave Lombardo like wipes the floor with Lars Ulrich, and I love some of Lars's parts, but you can tell they're precisely edited in the studio to be that perfect, because when you see them live, there's songs on And Justice for All that they've never played live, like Dyer's Eve and Frayed Ends of Sanity, I believe, until like Rob Trujillo joined the band and like was like, I really like these songs, let's play them. So then they did them, but the drum parts are totally different and simpler, because Dyer's Eve in particular is like really fast double bass for most of the song, and Lars can't play like that. But Dave Lombardo, even in like 2010, you see videos of them when he was in the band, and he's got to be like in his 40s, 50s, and he still sounds the same.
Do you know who John Worster is?
From The Best Show.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, yeah, but he's also a drummer. He's from the Mountain Goats. He's from Superchunk. He's Bob Molt's band.
Yeah, I know who he is.
He was telling a story when he was at Riot Fest several years back. He's, Slayer is not his cup of tea. It's not his kind of music, but he highly respects it. He said one of the most
Slayer was at Riot Fest.
Yeah, this is like several years. And Slayer's performing this year too. They're reuniting.
What?
Yeah.
Everything I've been seeing online is that they're done.
They're done, but they made a big announcement that you're reuniting it for Riot Fest. Obviously, they're saying we're broke. We need more money.
Who's even going to be in the band?
That's a good question. Obviously, Carrie and Tom. I'm wondering if Dave is going to be back in it or not.
Yeah, I thought he was just out doing his own thing.
Yeah, well, they kind of fired him. There was a weird fire you quit situation.
Yeah, he was pissed about the money situation.
Yeah,
and
Carrie
he
screwed him
sounded
over.
like, well, it sounded like their management in general, the band was splitting like 5% of their tour gross, and all the rest was going to like lawyers and managers and stuff. And like, I think they just sucked at business when they signed those contracts. And Dave is the only one smart enough to like look at the stuff and be like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here. And he didn't. Somehow, like they made a deal with the other members of the band somehow Dave got like cut out of the operation.
It's bogus after that. The drummer that replaced Dave, he got paid more than Dave.
That's such an insulting thing to do.
Yeah,
it's like, do you not respect what he brought to the band? That's ridiculous.
He's like the star of the band, in my opinion. I mean, Kerry King's solos and guitar work is great. No harm.
We'll get to his solos.
Yeah.
I have mixed opinions about Kerry King.
They're fun, dude. They're fun. They're fast and quick.
And on this album, you got to give respect to Jeff Hanneman.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah. He seems like also really important to the band's sound and songwriting.
Great. He's just as good as Kerry, but he's just on the side. I don't know why.
No, he's
like the Ringo Starr of Slayer for some reason.
They trade off solos.
They do. Yeah.
So I think they're both kind of equal parts. And even I think Gary Holt, it might be the guy who replaced Jeff.
No, Dave.
I'm talking about a guitarist.
Yes, he did replace it when he died. Yes.
Yeah, they still trade off, and that guy. I saw a live video of Angel of Death from like 2013 or something, and that other guy was really good at guitar. I kind of liked his tone and stuff better than Kerry, which Kerry King's tone was like so brittle, and he was like 10% louder than the other guitarists, but his tone was like piercing in not a great way.
But you like that kind of tone. You're a treble
I like
man.
treble, but within reason. And they don't have control over the mix on a YouTube video mixed by it was a like European festival. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's talk about the guitar solos.
I like them.
The best I can say about them is that it doesn't matter what key the song is in. The solo will just play some random noise and notes and as fast as possible most of the time. And it works. Oftentimes it sounds like people screaming, and like in Angel of Death when Jeff and Carrie trade off, it's like the cries of people getting murdered in the Holocaust. It's really haunting, actually. It's like some of the most effective guitar solos in that genre I've heard. So, yeah. But compared to Kirk Hammett's solos... There's no theory involved. Let's just say, like, it's all about... Yeah, we're not going to talk about that yet, but I just want to, like I said, like, compare the two, and I think, I don't know, Carrie and Jeff win for pure aggression, but not for musical theory, we'll say.
But for some reason, it won. That aggression, that intensity... makes the album better compared to the music theory behind it.
I will say, like, Angel of Death has great solos. By the third or fourth song that has the identical guitar solo, I start being like, is this really adding anything, or is it just there to fill the role of a guitar solo?
Gotcha. I would say that even if you don't like the solos, their riffs are very good. Their riffs are so nice. They're nice.
Yeah. Great riffs. You already talked about Tom Araya and his scream. Another thing that shocks me is how well that's held up over the years too. If you watch live videos, he can still get up there. It's not quite as precise about like a high note as the beginning of Angel of Death, but it still sounds just as like powerful. And I don't know how he learned he could scream like that. I was surprised to read that he wasn't even into metal when he joined the band.
Really?
Yeah, he was like more into classic rock, Cream,
oh my God,
and stuff.
Foreigner, Foghat.
I don't know about those, but because I think he lived really close to Kerry King, so Kerry was like, want to be in a band with me and Jeff, and I think Jeff and Dave were already jamming together on like Iron Maiden covers and stuff, so then they got Tom in. And I really respect him for being a singing bassist too, because there's not a lot of those.
What do you think of his bass skills? I think they're good. I mean, it's not the best thing ever, but I think they're very, very fun. They're very good. Obviously, he's trying to multitask, doing singing and playing, so it's not as complicated riffs, just a lot of single notes here and there, Or open,
but he plays like just as fast as the rest of the band.
Yeah, which he has to. Yeah.
Something I would always hear on like guitar forums growing up was that metal is all about like fast downstrokes, and I think that came from the Metallica model of riff writing. Slayer's very different. They have a unique
They have
style.
like open ones too, which
up and down,
which sounds good because it sounds very drony.
Yeah,
and it adds to it.
Almost a bit like black metal would do that droning like over a single chord.
Yeah.
With the blast beats behind it. Yeah, you're right. It can be kind of like a wash of sound instead of all.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a cop-out because you can play so much faster with alternate picking than you can with all downstrokes. But it's still really hard to do that precisely in time. So
especially with Dave's tempo. Oof.
So the fact that they kept it together even live and they still sound tight with the speed of those riffs and like how that style of riffing up and down can sound really sloppy, but they make it work.
Are you done? Can we change this topic about something else?
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to pressure you, but you were talking about Dave Lombardo's solo work, and he has a percussion thing. And I know we talked about this like 4 years ago. It made me think of this. Have you seen Birdman?
Yeah.
What'd you think of the soundtrack?
It's great. What's the guy's name?
Antonio Sanchez.
Yeah. Solo drum percussion score is a great idea.
It fits for that movie. Like, I'm still questioning if the movie's good, but I really love the soundtrack for it. And I kind of want to see the movie again just for the soundtrack.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I liked the movie when I saw it. It's quite odd and surreal. The fake like one take thing with hidden edits is a little bit of a cheesy. Me. I don't think it really adds that much, and it just kind of makes it feel more artificial in a way. And I guess the idea is to make it more like seamless. But if anything, I'm like looking to see where the hidden edit
exactly.
Point.
I mean, there's only, as far as I know, there's one or two movies, but there's one movie that has no edit at all. It's just one take, and it's fantastic.
Is it like a Russian like?
Yes.
Tchaikovsky or like something like that.
It's called Russian Ark. Fantastic.
I haven't
movie.
seen it, but I heard it's
so
cool.
good.
Now, are you sure it's not just a really well hidden edit?
No, it's all done in one edit because they even have a documentary behind it.
Okay.
Like how it's made and everything. And the most touching moment of that documentary is once that was over, the director started crying.
Wow.
Like out of like relief or joy and also like sad that it's over. Like there's a lot of emotions. but like he finished this. He thought it was going to be an easy thing to do, but it's not, because it's theatrical, and he has 700 actors in that movie.
Was he used to being like a theater director or something?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You saw the movie and the documentary?
Yeah. The documentary is like 20 minutes long.
How many takes did they do?
2 takes.
Do you know which one they used?
The second take.
Okay.
Because the first take they fucked up in like 5 to 15 minutes, and they had to do it again. Props to the camera guy, because he had to like act like be stable and walk around, because if he tumbled or anything, back to square one.
Okay, so it was all like steady cam, camera mounted to a guy.
Yeah, camera mounted to a guy walking around.
Yeah, I should see that. I like that kind of stuff if it's legit.
My only suggestion for you before you watch that movie, brush up on your Russian history, because it's all about Russian history.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about from Peter the Great to arguably to now, but they don't even talk about like Lenin and Stalin or anything, but it's basically saying like all of that before communism took over Russia. So
sounds interesting. But as like acted out like a stage play,
you'll see it. Yeah, like they go from room to room talking to people. It's like, oh, Catherine the Great's there, and they just go to another room.
Interesting.
And there's a guy guiding you, and he's supposed to be Europe, and he's kind of like shitting on Russian culture, saying like, oh, you took that from the Italians, oh, you took that from the French. But once the movie's over or the party's over, he knew, it was like, I can't, I gotta leave you here. And that's like the sad ending, because like all these rich oligarchs are just slowly gonna die, and they don't even know about it yet because communism takes over. Watch it; it's very good. But
have you seen 1917?
No.
Last movie tangent.
Sam Mendes?
Yeah, that's also one take.
Is it one take, or is it artificial one take?
It's artificial, but it's convincing. Again, I don't think it would need it to be one take, but it's just kind of cool.
What do you think of Sam Mendes? Did you like 1917? First of all, did you like that?
It was okay. I was a little fatigued by World War II movies when I saw
World War I, by the way.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
1917, of course. Because I think All Quiet on the Western Front came out like around the same time, which is also World War I think.
I didn't know that.
I think. Sam Mendes is great. Didn't he do American Beauty?
Yeah, I like American Beauty.
And didn't he do like Evil Dead or something?
No. But did you hear the controversy of him right now?
No.
He got hired to make 4 biopics of the Beatles, one per each perspective of each member. He's going to be doing it.
And that's a controversy?
Well, because, first of all, like, I'm excited for it, but I'm also nervous because, like, what if you screw up? You're going to piss off the Beatles fans. You're going to piss me off. But I'm also excited because, like, Sam Mendes. But I'm also excited because, like, because I want to see it. But, like, is Sam Mendes the right director for it? Is he the right director to do this?
Better than Peter Jackson. I'm sick of Peter Jackson owning the Beatles legacy.
Dude, Peter Jackson did a great job with that.
Yeah, but he's already done Get Back. We don't need another like 8 hours of Peter Jackson Beatles content.
I like his long stuff. Will I watch Lord of the Rings? No. Should I? I saw it when it came out in theater. Should I watch it again?
It depends if you're into that kind of stuff. I think the original trilogy is really good. I couldn't even get through the first Hobbit movie. I was so bored.
I haven't seen Hobbit. And I kind of refuse to because I want to respect my homie, Guillermo del Toro. They did him dirty.
Oh. Was he supposed to do that?
He was going to be the director. He was in New Zealand 9 months before filming. And then after the 9 months, he's like, I quit. Like, I can't wait any longer. So
were they doing that on purpose so that Peter could come back in? And
well, then afterwards they hired Peter. I don't know. I think they were just getting annoyed about some pre-production things, and Guillermo wanted certain aspects, and I guess there was like a lot of like creative control, creative issues. But I would love to see it on his perspective.
Yeah, I think he would have made a much better movie. Peter Jackson. This is why I feel like he has trouble having restraint, and especially with CGI in the Hobbit movies, he just made everything look so cartoony and fake. And I'm worried about what he would do with 4 movies of Beatles. That's fascinating. I want to read up about that project and we can talk it in a future episode. But as a segue back to Slayer, I saw a funny quote from Kerry King where an interviewer was like, so do you like any non-metal music like the Beatles or anything? And he's like, hell no, I hate that shit. Like he only listens to metal pretty much. But Tom Araya is into Beatles and I think really reveres them. So I think it's an interesting combo, especially to have the singer who's obviously an important role in the band. Like his musicality is more informed by more melodic classic music as opposed to the music, the guitarists and stuff who are writing the riffs are like just all metal all the time, and probably some hardcore punk and stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to add that in there.
Good tangent.
Is there anything more we want to say about Rain and Blood, or are we
10 out of 10? That's my rate.
I really can't argue with that, even though the first couple times I heard it, I was honestly a little burned out by it. Like I felt so impenetrably dense. There's like very little variety of tempo.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I've been noticing from our last conversations, you don't like it when it's fast tempo all the time.
No,
so I was worried that you were going to hate this. So
Raining Blood is kind of a slower song, at least the intro. So it does have some variety. Oh, I wanted to say Raining Blood also has quite a bit of like rain sounds in the beginning. And I was thinking about our conversation last week about Jay-Z and the skits and like non-music audio on an album. It's almost like a skit.
Okay, then you can say that the same with Injustice for All with One.
The
war
machine
sounds
guns
and all that stuff.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so they both do it. Yeah, I'm not going to give it a rating because like I need to hear it more times. I really respect what it is, but probably not an album I'm going to listen to that often in the future. Like I said, I want to hear more of their other stuff because I think Slayer has an interesting mythology about them. Any other topics we didn't discuss? We covered the guitar, the bass, the vocals, the drums.
The production.
Just from the couple songs I heard from their first two albums, there actually is quite a bit of reverb and
it's an improvement.
This is kind of the sound that needs. So to start and end our conversation of the album on Rick Rubin, he did good with like knowing what their sound needed.
Yeah, I'll give him credit for this. I think this is Rick Rubin's best work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's his first like rock album.
Yeah.
Unless you count some of the Beastie Boys having rock influence.
No.
Kerry King played some solos on Beastie tracks.
You're right.
Yeah, that's funny.
And also, thank you for adding that. Public Enemy sampled Slayer.
Really?
Angel of Death.
Wow.
The riff that we did. They sampled that part.
Hear that song.
Yeah.
Tori Amos covered Raining Blood.
Really?
As a somber, quiet piano ballad. Except it's even less recognizable.
Okay.
And I heard a quote where the Slayer guys like didn't even realize it was their song until like they heard a particular lyric and they were like, "Oh wait, this is actually our song." But they were into it.
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, they sent her some Slayer merch as like a thank you and
that's sweet. That's very nice of them.
I haven't heard that much Tori Amos, but she seems like a really cool artist from what I've heard.
Very sweet,
and she has some really cool live videos with Maynard from Tool, like playing like some of her music with him on backing vocals. So she's definitely in with that like LA metal and prog scene, surprisingly.
That's funny. That is funny. Okay, let's start with Injustice for All.
Maybe this is a good intermission break because I'm gonna pee again.
All right, cool, and then I'll pee as well. Okay. All right. Do you want to introduce the next album?
Yeah. So to introduce Injustice for All, I already said this is the first Metallica album I ever heard. I want to tell a little story of how I came upon it though, because I think at this time I was only listening to like Smashing Pumpkins and Weezer and stuff. I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I was taking guitar lessons at a local music store.
Up in Harvey?
Great guy.
Down in Harvey?
No, Beverly.
Beverly. Down in Beverly?
Oh, you might need to adjust that. Yeah, Beverly, the World Folk Music Store. My guitar teacher was a bluegrass mandolin player and guitarist named Steve. Mm-hmm. Steve Habrichter. I don't know if you're out there, Steve. I might look you up and send you an email after this if
you're cool,
if
Steve.
I can find you. You were really cool.
You made this guy great.
You taught me everything I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I took lessons with him for almost 2 years. It was like weekly with a couple breaks in between because he would go on tours or just like not do lessons for a while. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
You're fine. Do
your
thing, babe.
He was introducing me to new music, and he just gave me his copy of "And Justice for All" on CD and told me to because I would burn CDs off on my computer and just make a copy of it, and I gave it back to him, and he was like, check this out. It's got really cool classical guitar intros and stuff because he was just starting to show me stuff like Bach classical pieces, and we were listening to that. So I did, and I was like, so this is what Metallica sounds like. And I was kind of shocked by how it sounded because this was the original pre-remaster. This had to be in 2003. So it sounded even thinner and less bassy than the one on Spotify, the official Metallica release, which I think is a 2018 remaster. Not a great sounding album. And I will say, despite really liking the songwriting on this album, I think about it often to this day as an example of why a mix doesn't matter that much. I mean, a mix matters a lot, but even Metallica fucked up a mix on a major label album, and it was nominated for a Grammy. and
they're still angry they didn't win the Grammy over Jethro Tull.
They are angry, really?
Yeah,
are they actually out on record being pissed about that?
They're not pissed, but they're. I wouldn't say pissed, but it was a huge upset.
Yeah, so. I think their fans are upset. I think Metallica's classy enough to not be bitching about a Grammy award.
They were bitching politely. How about that?
Yeah, and you just played me that Jethro Tull album when we were setting up.
It's not metal.
It's not metal at all. It is kind of good music, but I'm shocked that that's even in the same category. But maybe it was mixed better.
I was reading it in the Wikipedia. Even Jethro Tull was not happy being in the metal category, so out of respect, they didn't even go to the Grammys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They could have at least given it to Metallica for showing up then. If they showed up. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really care about the Grammys.
Yeah, neither do I.
I haven't watched it in years, and even when I read this band won a Grammy for this album, it means nothing to me.
To me, yeah, exactly.
So exactly. I'm kind of glad it didn't win because I don't know if it deserves it, to be honest. Like we were saying, it's not Metallica's best album. A lot of people say, well, it's my favorite for personal reasons, but Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, even the Black album, the self-titled that came after this, where they went really mainstream and pop metal. I think that's possibly a better album overall.
I mean, better drumming.
Better drumming? You
better
think?
Drumming,
but the drumming's a lot slower. It's it's not as thrashy.
I guess, but I feel like Lars is more confident in Black Album than in Justice for All.
Interesting you say that. I mean, it's much better produced overall. That's Maybe the presence of bass on the mix makes the drums sound better because it's a very dry, artificial sounding album. And Justice for All, the kick drum, it almost sounds sampled. It sounds like chiptune metal.
Yeah,
it's 8-bit mix.
Yeah, it's weird. And the reason they decided to go with that is what angers me even more. Well, so we should just tell the story real quick. Well, hold on.
Why it sounds so bad.
So this is their first album after the death of their member named Cliff Burton.
Yeah, former bassist.
So, obviously they're mourning that. They're trying to still make their career happen and start to make music, and they found a good replacement. Jason is a phenomenal bassist. And the sad thing, I will admit, even I was this kind of person, even though I was just a kid, the fans didn't like him, Really? And they started liking him once he left the band. They started appreciating him. It was okay, Jason's a nice guy. Like,
That's funny.
It's not Jason's fault that Metallica's music went to shit. They started blaming Jason for it, you know?
Wow.
Like, that's the vibe I got from when Jason was in the band, you know?
I mean, Metallica wasn't on my radar in the 90s when he was a current member.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until like watching the Some Kind of Monster documentary, like
Such
right
a
when
good
he
documentary.
leaves. Yeah. Amazing film. But that's, when people start analyzing the band dynamics a bit more and realizing how shitty they were to him when he first joined the band. So long story short, Jason Newsted helped write the album.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blackened was his riff. He's like fully in the band with in the studio, but you can't hear the bass on the album.
You can't hear it because it was Lars' idea to decrease the bass as a prank. They were doing nothing but pranks throughout Jason's like life in Metallica. Let's prank him, do this, let's do all of that. And Jason took it because he was like the new guy and also trying to like get their approval, you know? But you're sacrificing your music just for these stupid pranks.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about it. But think about it this way. From their perspective, they just lost their friend, the original bassist, who was a huge part of their sound. And like bass is very present on the first 3 albums in the mix, and just like bass parts, like For Whom the Bell Tolls, like iconic bass intro. So to have an album after Cliff dies with basically no bass, it's kind of a memorial to Cliff, like that there is no bass on this album because our bassist is dead. And this is actually the first time I'm thinking of it this way. I think it's generally a bad idea, especially when you hear the fan made and Justice for Jason remixes.
Oh, and that isn't it better?
So much better.
So much better.
So objectively, it would have been better with the bass because, like you said, Jason's a beast of a bass player.
I just hope, I don't know if they already did, but I just hope James and Lars apologizes to Jason.
I think they both have. I've heard them, like, just quotes from interviews and articles where they've like gone on record saying like it was kind of wrong what they did, and giving him props for being a trooper through it.
Yeah.
And they've all, because on tour immediately after the album came out, they went on a like world tour. I'm assuming it was a world tour, just big tour, and unanimously Jason was great live, and they had him mixed nice and loud at their shows. So I think that's kind of he proved himself through that process of touring. But when the album was being recorded, they hadn't had that bond yet. And so I don't know if I would call it a prank. I think it's even more like dark and sinister than that. That Lars just wanted to put this new member in his place and say like, you're not going to be heard.
You know, what angers me is why are they giving so much power to Lars to do all this stuff when he's the least talented member of the band? Like, yeah, he's a smart guy. I know he can read. He can like read a contract and all that. But he doesn't know what he's doing musically speaking, and they still listen to him.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, he and James Hetfield, singer-guitarist, are like the core members. Like they started together, and everyone else is sort of add-ons in a way, to the point where he's like the richest member of the band. He has the highest net worth. I don't know if that's like smart investing or just finessing the contract so he gets more. But he, as a songwriter on all their publishing and stuff, I'm sure he and James like split the lion's share of the profits for like royalties, because on a lot of their songs, if you go to credits on Spotify, it says composed by Lars Ulrich, James Hetfield.
Yeah. And this album was produced by James and Lars and another guy, I forget his name, something Furman?
Furman? So it's kind of like a European name.
Yeah.
And there's a YouTube video with that other producer where he basically says how bad an idea he thought it was to turn the bass down, but Lars was like adamant about it.
Exactly, super adamant, which again angers me. And like, I know we're trying to talk about Injustice for All, but like I still, he's a joke. He's a joke online where people make fun of him, how the drummings of Saint Anger, it was his idea when it's one of the worst drumming sounds of all time.
Hey, at least it's distinctive.
I guess.
That was their new metal era. And I noticed something. They've had bad luck with the first album when a new member's in the band because Jason Newsted and Justice for All has a notoriously bad mix, and Saint Anger has a notoriously bad mix, and that's their first album after Jason left. But Rob isn't even on that album yet. It was Bob Rock in the studio playing bass, and then they got Rob to go on tour.
I'm going to compliment. God, I feel weird saying this.
I want to defend Lars, but go on, say your thing first.
I want to compliment the recording a little bit without just for this small section. The recording without the bass on "Eye of the Beholder."
Okay.
There's certain moments where the riff and you can tell that it's just only guitars. There's a little, like a subwoofer vibe to it where you kind of feel like a little bit imbalanced, you're having vertigo.
On the actual official mix.
On the official mix. But if you add the bass to it on Justice for Jason, that thing is not there anymore. So does that make it heavier? Maybe, but I do like that feeling I got from listening to that.
I will say, without bass, the album is very tight.
Yeah.
And you hear the kick drum super clear. Because, in terms of frequency, bass and kick drum are kind of they're competing for space in the mix. So that's probably, again, Lars wanting to be the most dominant force in the band. I want my kick drums to be the only thing coming out of the bass register.
Oh,
and it's a very punchy drum sound. Again, it sounds really sterile and dry. Probably because it's lacking bass, but also just how it was recorded generally. And the first time I heard this on that CD I got from my guitar teacher, I was listening to it on just a Discman. That's how I listened to all my music at that period on headphones. And just coming from listening to albums from the early 2000s, like Interpol and stuff, I was just shocked by so this is what rock in the 80s sounded like. It was tinny and quiet.
No, I see that.
Not as compressed as stuff became in the 2000s, like the loudness wars. But it's an interesting time capsule.
The loudness wars. Oh my God.
Metallica got into that.
Death Magnetic. That's one of the controversies of that album.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Death Magnetic.
No, but I do kind of want to get into some of that recent stuff. There's one song on Death Magnetic that I do like. It's a slower ballad that they did a music video for. I think it's Death Magnetic.
I haven't listened to it, but you were going to compliment or defend Lars?
I think Lars, his issue is that after a certain time, 91 or so, Black Album, I think he just stopped having any ambition to be a technically proficient metal drummer and just stopped practicing, playing fast, playing technical. And it makes sense with what the band did in the 90s, the Load, Reload era is pop metal.
Garage Inc. I was, I feel embarrassed saying this, but I'm going to say it. No, I'm going to say it. God, I'm so embarrassed saying this to you. I'm one of the few people who enjoy S&M.
Wait, the act?
No, Symphony in Metallica, 1999. Metallica recorded an album with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, that's cool.
And I enjoyed it. It had negative reviews when it came out because the metalheads is we don't want symphony with our metal, whatever. I enjoyed it. Granted I was a little kid, but I really liked it, and it was weird. Around that time, there was not a lot of bands, but it was kind of getting a reputation of bands playing with a symphony.
Okay.
With an orchestra, I mean.
Was it Trans-Siberian Orchestra vibes of swelling strings with the riffs?
But, it had a lot of Ennio Morricone vibes. And, Metallica is a huge fan of Ennio Morricone.
Uh-huh.
You know who he is. Yeah, of course you should. If you don't, I'll be...
Yeah. Fistful of dollars.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Good, the bad, and the ugly.
Cinema Paradiso.
Well, now I want to check out that because I'm a sucker for symphonic rock.
I like it. I mean, but again, it's one of those arguments I have. Should I listen to it again? Because I enjoyed it when I was a kid. If I listen to it again, will I be brokenhearted?
Wait, I keep getting sidetracked when I'm trying to say that I'll just come out and say I think Lars is actually a really underrated musician. Not so much a drummer. We already discussed how he's a weak drummer. When you hear him play live, he's like kind of wavering with tempo a lot, and he just looks kind of uncomfortable and like sluggish.
Yeah,
now.
dude. Even
but he's
back
like
then.
in his 50s.
Even
No,
back then.
Back then, I think. Well, I haven't really studied live footage of Metallica.
Make the argument. How is he a good musician? Like, are you saying his songwriting is good?
Yeah, the songwriting and like the beats and stuff he comes up with on this album, like it's technical and
do you think he
proggy.
thought of it, or do you think other band members like, why don't you do that?
No, Lars isn't playing what some other person tells him to play. He's
one of those where
he
he will make fun of you for thinking that idea, and then like 30 minutes later he does it.
That might be true.
Yeah.
And every band has some of that tension and dynamic. But I think Lars, you see it in the credits. Like if Lars wasn't one half or more of the songwriting, he wouldn't be able to put his name as like composer alongside James. I do think they're kind of the heart and soul of the Metallica machine.
Unfortunately. But okay, you wanted to like do a compare.
You can't argue with
wanted to do a compare thing. Dave Lombardo wins versus Lars.
On technicality and speed and aggression, but songwriting, I think Lars has better songwriting.
I don't know who wrote the songs for Slayer. I should have checked on that, but
I don't think Dave is really writing a lot of songs. And I'm not saying Lars writes the full song, but as far as coming up with parts that are memorable.
Come on, Raining Blood has a better, like, it has a classical, drumming composition.
Just some like accent, yeah,
dude, that's simple but fantastic.
Listen to the drum parts on like Blackened and like all the. There's lots of tempo changes and like time signatures.
The only thing that I would respect Lars' music, like songwriting wise, and his drummings, is the double blast beat on One. Before the darkness impersonating me, that area. That's the best part that Lars could ever do. But you can tell that he's tired doing it. Like, he can't physically do it. In fact, just
live, but in the studio it sounds perfect because it's all like edited.
Weren't you going to make the argument with me? One of the things about, or weren't you going to bring up
studio trickery? And cheating. I heard they were doing this back in Master of Puppets too. I'll just say this quickly that on some really fast technical Metallica riffs, I heard James would downtune his guitar a few steps and play along to a slowed down version of the track. So it's slower and easier to play, precise and in time. And then they would just speed it back up to normal tempo so it sounds really clean and tight. Okay. And I think probably other bands did that too. Maybe even Slayer did it. Who knows? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think you're giving Lars enough credit as the drums are the song, like the arrangements. And
you are right. The drums are the songs. That's why the album is not good.
Rain and Blood is like one note, like punk fast beats, except for a couple like little parts here and there, like the Rain and Blood. That's the only song with a little bit more dynamics to it.
I don't know. Criminally Insane is also good. And we were just playing that a little bit.
I learned to play it in like 30 seconds. It's just like fast on the ride
but just the beginning. But then afterwards, he kind of like he mixes the snare and the kick drum and goes back and forth to that, which is impressive and insane that he can do that. Can Lars do that? No.
Yeah, but if music is like an athletic sport of just how fast and clean you can play equals better, then like that's not how I rank music.
Neither do I, but this is better. That's all I can say.
Yes, I've already agreed with you. Dave Lombardo is a better drummer.
I'm saying the album and the band, period. Granted, of the stupid drama Slayer has, they're a better band than Metallica.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I think Metallica is a better band.
Oh my God!
How can you even like have that reaction? This is a matter of taste. Like you're not objectively right that Slayer is better.
I mean, it's the facts.
No, it's not. It's just your opinion.
It's just your opinion. But how could you say they're a better band?
You've said the only album you really know and have listened to by Slayer is this album. Metallica has five or six classic albums.
South of Heaven is great. Seems as though the Abyss has turned a page for me, and I enjoy it. I still haven't listened to
3.
I still haven't listened to Hell Awaits, but it's still considered great. World Painted Red, which was released in 2006, I still listen to it, and it's so good.
Is that the slow like new metal one?
No, the slow metal one is like Demonica Musica, something like that. No, but World Painted Red is so good. So good. And one of the few albums where the songs are more than 3 minutes long, like 5-6 minutes long.
Okay.
Which is very weird to hear.
Let me just break this down. It depends on what you value in music. If you like the speed and aggression and like raw power of metal and like hardcore punk mixed in, like Slayer, obviously no contest, is the better band. But if you value like interesting song structures,
rock, that kind of thing,
just depth of like feelings and emotions and lyrics that aren't just...
They're lacking that. I feel like
maybe on this album, Metallica, but the Black Album, could Slayer write an album like the Black Album?
No, because they're not pop.
Well, I like the pop metal then. Pop isn't bad.
I mean, I love me some slow proggy music. And I appreciate and I respect Metallica trying to do that.
They didn't just try to do it. They fucking ruled the world doing that. They became like the biggest band in the world. To this day, they're like one of the most famous bands ever.
Sure. Objectively speaking, yes. In that sense, yes. But like, if you listen to the songwriting sense, it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit.
And what exactly is Slayer's songwriting genius if every song is like the same kind of riff and shouted vocal?
You get what you like. It's right there. Boom. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's like one note.
Like a bang for your buck right there, you know? No, you know, there's no tricks behind it, nothing. It's like, this is it. Take it or leave it. And that's the beauty of it.
Exactly. And so in your opinion, that's what you value in music, and that's what you prefer, but I much prefer the complexity of Metallica.
But you say that and you're passively, like you're like subconsciously saying that you are okay with with James and Lars treating Jason like shit, and even treating Kirk like shit. And I don't appreciate that.
I'm not saying that.
No. But if they were nicer to them, I think that Metallica would be different. Like right now, Metallica, as much as I don't like Lars and how he is, it's so nice to see them right now being a healthy band. They're happy. Yeah. I haven't listened to the new album yet, but like Robert's...
I heard a bit of it. Yeah. It's okay.
Like Robert's like a really important segment, like member of the band. They're listening to him. They're listening. This is like, and they're like, what, 50 years as a band? And for the first time, they're fucking listening.
To who?
To each other.
Okay. I mean, you could argue that probably started with the early 2000s, some kind of monster.
You can thank Jason for that. You can thank Jason for that. If it wasn't for Jason bitching them out, saying, you guys are horrible, you treat me like shit, I'm done. And they were like healing from that because they were right. If it wasn't for Jason, we wouldn't have Metallica what we have now.
Yeah, sure. Like, give Jason props for that. And it's great that they've come to that point. This has really nothing to do with my argument that I would rather listen to Metallica. You're trying to bring in like personal stuff, just like you did with Steely Dan. Like, oh, they're assholes and they're bad people, so the music is somehow worse. That's not how
even
music works.
Speaking, it's not that good either.
First of all, that's your opinion, but you listed 3 albums at the start of this that you think are better than And Justice for All: Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and
Kill 'Em All.
Kill 'Em All, their first one, which I don't think is that great of an album, but Ride the Lightning and some Master of Puppets, those could easily go up against Rain and Blood as some of the best metal albums of all time.
You know what? That's a good argument, but you're not making that argument. You're saying Justice for All is better than, or Justice, you were saying Justice for All versus
I'm not really
Raining
saying
Blood.
that. We're talking about the bands as a whole.
As a whole.
And Metallica being a better band.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to talk about this at the time because we were talking about Slayer, but Kerry King's solos versus Kirk Hammett's solos. Kirk Hammett gets so much shit for being kind of a weak guitarist.
Thank you for saying we got to give respect for Kirk. Kirk put
a
lot
whose fucking side are you on?
No,
you're like shitting on Metallica, now you're like, oh yeah, we got to give it to Kirk.
I'm shitting on Lars and James for not being nice people when Kirk is a great guitarist. You know, I like that he put a lot of thought into the
so another
soloing.
point on the Metallica category for a guitarist.
But like, also, it's different. Like, okay, so people like to make fun of Kirk because it's a lot of wah wah and just bending notes and all that stuff. But like in Justice for All, you hear him do, tap-ons and all that stuff, and he's putting a lot of thought into it instead of just improvising
solos that are actually arranged and have like a classical flair and fit the melodies and the riffs of the song, unlike a bunch of unlistenable noise that just happen. It just kind of amps up the energy. It does a good job of that, but a Slayer solo, it could go in any song and it would be the same. So
okay, I guess
like
I
you've
agree
been going
with
to
that.
the symphony so much lately. Like Metallica has like a classical air to their arrangements, and I'm shocked that you can't appreciate that just as like a fan of music.
I appreciate it, and I don't at this because it's beginner level
compared to like fucking Stravinsky or something.
Yeah,
but as far as most metal bands, it makes Slayer look like fucking embryo level music
but
theory.
Slayer is not saying, hey, let's listen, we're gonna play classical music.
Of course they're not.
Slayer's not doing that.
But for even trying and for like putting that like actual harmonic and like musical knowledge into music, Metallica deserves way more props than you're giving them.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I do wanted to say this. I really do appreciate that Metallica is like, hey, let's bring some classical guitar, nylon string guitar, and let's go from there. And which broadened the horizon for a lot of metalheads to listen to classical music. It did to me. It made me curious to listen to other classical music. It made me curious to listen to Francisco Tárrega and other stuff like that. But to consider that as like the kind of music for classical music, for classical guitar, no, it's a good starter. Like I remember, like when we were kids, everyone started playing Nothing Else Matters because it sounded very nice. And it was simple. It's just E minor, all open chords.
Yeah, it's a great entryway into playing guitar for young people. Yeah, like Enter Sandman, Nothing Else Matters are like some of the first things I learned to play on guitar. And I think a lot of people of our generation, it's the same for them. I tried to learn the riffs from Angel of Death when I was learning guitar, and they're just way too fast and thrashy. So I didn't really get that far with learning Slayer.
But now, do you appreciate Slayer's riffs?
I've never said I don't appreciate them.
But now as a professional guitarist that you are, or expert that you are, do you appreciate it now compared to what you were as a kid?
I still can't play them.
Yeah.
Like we were just trying, and it's still like superhuman level speed. But once again, that's doesn't mean I want to listen to it all the time. Mm-hmm. So I've realized there's a problem with our format of this show. When I bring an album that I know better and you bring an album that you know better, and we were trying to decide which one is a better album, there's no way we're ever going to change each other's mind.
It's not.
You're going to like the one you like. So let's just leave that out of this.
But it's a good argument. It's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, I appreciate you telling me why it's good, and I'm trying to explain to you why it's not good.
See, that's what I don't like, though, because you're going to just, like, say, like, no, my album is better because I've heard it hundreds more times, and there's no way yours can be better.
But you wanted this.
Yeah, but something about your, like, dismissal of Metallica, despite saying, like, yeah, it's great they brought into classical music and they have more intricate guitar solos, but then, like, also saying they suck. Like, I don't get how you can have both opinions. I think you're just kind of like putting on a front that you think they're a shitty band.
I don't think it's the best thing they've done, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we already have been through that. I don't think it's their best album either. But like I said, it's the one that I like the most and I kind of have nostalgia for. And I think that's a big part of music, is what you grew up with and what your nostalgia is.
I guess.
I would say you have the same for Rain and Blood, if I had to guess, which I don't.
It's funny, though, because as a teenager, I appreciate Metallica more. But as I get older, I turn more of a Slayer guy.
Okay. Yeah, you said at the start of this that you liked this album and Justice for All when you were in high school. Yeah. Like, how did it compare to other Metallica albums for you?
Well, then I listened to Master of Puppets, and that changed.
So now you think that's their best one?
Yeah, I really love the intro of Battery.
Which also starts clean, classical. You like that intro more?
Yes, I like that intro a lot.
It's a great intro, but I think the intros to like the song and Justice for All, that's one of my favorite clean intros. And the instrumental song, To Live Is to Die, I think has some great, like, it sounds very classical. And I've played like Bach, like Bourrée in A minor and stuff. To say that this is beginner level, it's like, that stuff isn't any more challenging than playing like the intro to And Justice for All, it's still just like standard tuning, nothing fancy, and just playing like in a key. They do a convincing job of like classical guitar, and then it's not even their main focus. It's just a little intro.
You got a point there. I mean, they do a good job. Yeah, it's not their main focus, but like, I don't know, after listening to classical guitar a lot, you're just like, what, really? You're doing that? But again, metal is metal.
It's called dynamics.
Dynamics.
It makes the heavy riffs feel more impactful when it's not just like balls to the wall for a 90-minute set. If I don't think I would ever want to see Slayer live because I just know it's going to be like nonstop thrash.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Well,
you were just saying that in the beginning, like you enjoyed metal because you get to like take your energy out. So
right,
you can feel
listening to it where I can control like, okay, 3 songs in, I've had enough. I'll go look at something else.
Okay. Valid point.
And Metallica, I feel like is more listenable in a long term for someone like me who enjoys light and shade in my music. Like they have that in an album.
Using art into it. No, but you're right.
I was trying to quote Jimmy Page, actually. He said that about his guitar approach.
Oh, God. I don't want to talk about Jimmy right now.
I don't either. Not a big Zeppelin fan, to be honest.
You know, that's funny you say that because as a teenager in my 20s, I hated Zeppelin. I really hated Zeppelin. Now I tolerate them. I don't think I'm going to like them, but there's certain songs where I'm like, okay, this is good. But I still, you know.
I still don't find them that interesting to listen to.
There's certain songs that are very good. Very, very good.
Well, maybe that's another thing I need to explore now that, But who's going to be the one to recommend a Led Zeppelin album? Because it's not going to be me.
It's not going to be me either.
I guess we got to get a third person.
I'll recommend Led Zeppelin songs, but I can't do albums. Like, I know... No, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, another topic. Okay, sorry. I'm going to compliment you, or Injustice for All, for this, okay?
I do not tie my self-worth to this album.
I know, but you chose this album, okay? Regardless of how shitty they treated Jason in this album, because you don't hear it, on the Injustice for Jason on YouTube, I like what he's playing. You can hear that he's so excited to be in the band. There's a lot of energy, good vibes from him. So in that sense, yeah, Jason's better than Tom. Yeah.
Okay, on the bass level.
On the bass level.
That's complicated, though, because those And Justice for Jason, it's a little unclear where the stems of the bass playing came from. Yeah. So a lot of them came from, like, Guitar Hero or Rock Band when they, like, isolated each instrument. So people would get the bass track from the game, and I'm not sure if they're actually Jason playing or if it's someone recreating the part. I saw on Reddit people speculating like maybe when the deal was made to do Guitar Hero, they got Rob, because he was the current bassist, to play the part. But it sounds like pick, and Rob plays with his fingers.
Yeah.
And Jason, we didn't mention, is like a
Jason
pick
plays
player.
with a pick.
And it's really great, aggressive bass tone. It's got a lot of like crispy pick attack.
I discovered that Jason plays with a pick because he's showing homage or respect to Lemmy from Motorhead.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's good. I'm giving you a little Metallica trivia since you love Metallica.
Is that? I don't even love Metallica. I'm just defending them for. I respect what they've done, and I mean, how could you? If someone's been the biggest metal band in the world for like 40 years, I think the metal community is like gonna call bullshit if the band doesn't. And they have. The fans have called Metallica out so many times for making bad moves, and they've always kind of weathered it because I think there is an innate talent, and like they have something to say. I think also, James Hetfield. We didn't really. Vocals. Tom Araya versus James Hetfield.
I'm going with Tom. I mean, James. I'll compliment this. James. Dynamics is good. Like he can sing, he's talking, you can hear him. Versus Tom is just speaking very fast because his music is very fast, which can get annoying. I get that, but I'm going with Tom.
Yeah, I was just, as you were saying that, I was trying to think if Tom actually sings melodies, and it kind of feels like he's like just shouting on one note for most of the song, like
it's
almost
more
like
rhythmic.
rapping.
It's like rhythmic melodies.
Yeah, which is James does it too, but because like the key and the tonal center of a song is so much more important in a Metallica song than a Slayer song. Slayer's like deliberately trying to be dissonant, so they have these chromatic notes in the riffs, so it doesn't matter what key it's in. So the vocals, I know Tom has to think about what note he wants to hit for each song, otherwise it's gonna sound like shit. But in Metallica songs, James actually is like singing a melody that complements the riff. So he's more of a singer than a like shouting rapper kind of
No, I see that. Yeah.
metal vocalist. And Slayer definitely prophesied or like led to a lot of like death metal and stuff that's like even lower and less like guttural, like the Cookie Monster vocal thing that took over and death metal. Like Slayer is similarly, the vocals are just there to like provide aggression and deliver the lyric. So Tom's very good at that, but once again, I like singing and melody more than just the screaming. So I like James Hetfield. I think he's a great singer.
Yeah, he is. I feel like during Black Album and afterwards, I think James's vocals went downhill, and rightfully so, because he wasn't singing correctly.
Yeah, so, but I blew his voice out.
Exactly. So I appreciate the early ages because he's showing aggression but still singing, but he's singing it incorrectly, which you'll see in Some Kind of Monster. He had vocal lessons and all that stuff, which is cool. I want to compliment James in this one, and I am complimenting him like I'm being sincere. I'm not being condescending like you guys think I'm being condescending in that. He's one of the best rhythm guitarists in music history. Like he's really good, and like we were talking about, he does nothing but going down, chugging down all the time. And to have that rhythmic hand, so he's right-handed, so doing that in his right hand all the time, it's very intense. Like I get cramps just doing that all the time. So him doing it like it's nothing, he's got like a robotic arm or a robotic hand to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about him as a rhythm player. I have mixed feelings about the downstrokes, and I wonder why that's the path they chose. Because downstrokes makes a riff heavier and each hit is more consistent, but you have to play slower than you could if you went.
Yeah. But then again, what you were just saying, Metallica's not a fast band, so it's fine for them to be slow.
Right. They do have some very fast songs, though. Their early stuff,
they
and
have
even
some
at
fast
this period,
moments. Oh yeah, I agree. But they have some fast moments in Injustice for All, but they don't have fast songs.
Compared to Slayer, maybe, but compared to a lot of other bands, they're still considered a thrash metal band.
Yeah, of course.
I would just say they have less of the punk influence and more, I don't know, Black Sabbath, more like classic rock kind of melodic stuff in their influences. Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Okay. I want to get your artistic juice flowing here, your brain flowing. I want to pick your brain on this. Album covers, which one has it better? Injustice for All or Rain and Blood? Which one do you like better?
I like the Rain and Blood cover.
Me too.
It's like a cool painting. It's like, hellish. It's kind of reminds me of German Expressionism.
Yeah.
The Metallica cover, it's a great image of like the Lady Liberty being pulled down by like ropes or something, but it's okay. I've seen cooler fan-made, like some of the Injustice for Jason albums have like it looks almost AI generated take on that image of the Liberty statue being pulled down, and it's more like moody and atmospheric. I think those are really cool. They should have done something more like that. But the Rain and Blood original cover is a cool, like fully painted hellscape, which is really nice.
Also, since you brought up, like I think it's To Live Is to Die, where they're having like more proggy, slow, riffy songs, and I don't appreciate it as much because I don't think it's going anywhere. And I was gonna say, even though your T-shirt brought this up. I feel like songs like "Airplane Flies High" are better songs than some of the songs from "Injustice for All," like "To Live Is to Die." I know that's very. I know I'm bringing up a completely different conversation topic.
I mean, I see what you're comparing them. They have a similar, like it's like slow, heavy riff.
Yeah.
Aeroplane's not one of my favorite SP songs, to be honest, but
it's one of my favorites. It's funny.
It's still a pop song with a vocal. It's like verse, chorus, verse.
Yeah.
It's very, very.
But it's very experimental.
It has some moments that are a little more stretched out and like progressive than other Smashing Pumpkin stuff. To Live Is to Die is a great, like mostly instrumental.
Yeah,
and I just like it.
I want to respect it too because I just read it like that was like their last song with Cliff.
Yeah, I think he like helped write that one.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of Jason, out of respect, just memorized what Cliff wrote. He didn't do his own thing. He just played what Cliff wrote, and that was it.
Not that it mattered, because you can't hear him at all on the album.
And you're still defending it.
Yeah, I guess I need to explain better my process there, because it doesn't sound as good as if you could have heard the bass, but we have kind of fan-made versions.
Yeah.
Something that does piss me off about Metallica is that when they released it as a remaster in 2018, I think fans were really clamoring for the full like louder bass mix. And they could have done it. I think they have the masters, but they were like their reasoning for just making it like kind of enhanced version of the original mix was that the album is a time capsule of '88, so it's got to sound basically the same. And I think that's dumb. Yeah. Like you have an opportunity to make it sound way better.
And then make it a new album, Injustice for All, with bass or something, you know?
Maybe one day there'll be an official release.
Kind of like how Paul McCartney did Let It Be and then Let It Be Naked, you know?
Right. Yeah, they should do that. Right now, though, if you're a Metallica fan, you can hear this album. There's several fan-made remixes on YouTube. They're not very good bit rate, though. So like they're like 720p videos, and you can tell the Spotify versions, even though they have no bass, they are much more hi-fi, and it bums me out that you can't hear the hi-fi version with bass.
Oh, I just wanted to, give that.
It's still good.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and like I feel bad for Jason on this album, but there's a lot of interviews you can see about him and the band reflecting on this period, and they've all seemed to have made peace with it. He's much more audible on the Black Album, which was their next one. And I think now the fans respect him for what he did in the band when he was there for that like 10, 12 years. Yeah, I'm probably not going to listen to this album very much in the future. I still like Blackened and Justice for All, the first two tracks, and the instrumental.
The first four songs are great. The first four songs are great. And I'm going to add this too. I appreciate metal for making me be more of a bookworm. Like, because of one, I read Johnny God Is Gone by Dalton Trumbo. Is that his? I think that's it.
Oh, I forget.
Which is based, it's based off that. So I read the book. I liked it a lot. Started reading more. Another metal reference. I really like Mastodon, Leviathan, and because of how much I liked it, I read Moby Dick, and Moby Dick is one of my favorite books. So I appreciate metal getting into their literature.
Yeah. That reminds me, we haven't really given any credit to the fact, besides Angel of Death being about the Holocaust, both albums have a lot of political messages to them, and I think that's worth mentioning. We've said before, or at least I have on the Black Sabbath episodes, I'm not a fan of fantasy metal where it's just about knights and dragons and stuff. I find that silly, but I think it's valuable for an aggressive band to talk about what's wrong in society and politics and to be pretty direct about it. So, and Justice for All, I think, has a lot of really strong lyrics on the title track, and then the last song is like about like parents trying to control their kids, like James Hetfield talking about his upbringing in like a religious household or something. I think there's some good messages on it, and I'm sure there are on Rain and Blood too, like the Jesus one.
Jesus Saves.
Yeah, but I haven't studied the lyrics enough to really know what they're singing about in most of them. But when I read metal lyrics, I cringe a little because stuff that sounds great and like when it's screamed out or sung in a track doesn't always read well on the page. It sounds a little like a moody high schooler writing in their notebook. Like they use a lot of the similar language, honestly. I think Hetfield and Tom Araya didn't actually write most of the lyrics.
I think it's Carrie.
Carrie and
Carrie.
and Jeff, right? I think they both wrote a lot of the lyrics. Yeah. They have a similar, like, use some archaic, like old English, gruesome vocabulary, like my mortuary. I mean,
I also enjoy like the visuals they give us in the lyrics, like "Frozen Water Burial."
That's a good. Angel of Death has some great lyrics. It might be the high point of the album. Which once again, not endorsing the what was the name of the doctor it's based on?
Fuck, I forget. But he was known as the Angel of Death, or Doctor Death, something Wiseman. But I forget. But yeah, he's a horrible human being.
They should make a movie about him, like with this as the kind of song and like the sonic template, like a horror movie about.
What's the name of the guy who does American Horror Story? Ryan Murphy, directed and written by Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm giving this album 6, maybe. Okay, I'll be nice, 7 out of 10. But I know you're not going to do reviews or anything, so we can just move on from this. And
I've never liked giving number reviews for albums. It doesn't
give it justice.
It's just not necessary. I feel like we just talked about each album for like 40 minutes a piece. I think that's where my opinion is. But if you guys haven't heard either of these albums, I would say Rain and Blood is essential listening for thrash and metal. And Justice for All, if you're interested in the story of Metallica, I think it's a fascinating time capsule of where they were in the late 80s, but you probably should listen to like Master Puppets first, or just listen to all their singles. I think they're a great pop
listen to
band.
Their best hits.
I mean, honestly, that's the stuff that is famous around the world for a reason. Like they came up with some great memorable hooks.
I don't know. Maybe people still love their song from Mission Impossible.
I don't remember that one.
It's from 1999, I think.
So it was like Load era, Reload.
Yeah, before Jason was about to quit.
I don't remember.
That's when Kirk is starting to use. That's when Kirk starts to use his whammy bar a lot.
Whammy bar.
I mean, his wah wah a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, like the Kirk thing is like just the bullying of the internet and the echo chamber of people pointing to some videos. Same with Lars. Like being the biggest band in the genre puts you open to so much like hate online, and people give a lot of. They just, like you said, they're like a meme and a punching bag now.
But at least Kirk has talent.
According to a lot of metal fans online, Kirk is talentless, and people who are writing these things couldn't play like a fraction of what Kirk could play. They just hear other people say it and they repeat it. Same with like about Lars being a shitty drummer. They couldn't play a song by Lars, but they repeat what they say anyway.
Whatever. Well, I think we should get a female perspective on this. Brooke, would you like to state your opinions of these two albums if you heard them?
Okay, here's what I was thinking. You heard both albums, right? Slayer. You heard a bit of Slayer.
I heard just the one song.
So Angel of Death, the one about speaking to the mic.
Brooke, what did you think?
Well, I only heard the one song on the Slayer album.
Okay.
Angel of Death.
I had to like make her read along with the lyrics to hear to get the whole picture.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What did you think? Were you horrified?
I thought the lyrics were scary. I don't know. I don't really want to do this anymore.
No. Well, what about Injustice for All? What'd you think of that?
I don't know if she actually heard that.
Oh,
No.
got it. Cool. That's fine. Thank you for trying. Thank you for trying. No.
That's okay. Well, I I was going to just mention one thing, which is that if I had to guess, I think there's more female Metallica fans than there are female Slayer fans. What do you think? There's probably mostly male audiences in both, but I think just because of their like more melodic, they're like power ballads, I think there's probably more women who listen to Metallica.
You're probably right. Unfortunately, you're probably right, but I haven't done a survey about that, but you're right.
But and I've never seen either band in live. Have you seen Slayer live?
No.
Or Metallica?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a band better if they reach like a wider demographic, but maybe that's just where my preference for Metallica comes from, like the raw male aggression of Slayer
just turns you off.
A small dose is enough for me. I don't.
Okay.
I need some estrogen in my metal.
Luckily, it's only 35 minutes long, unlike Slayer that's over an hour long.
And Justice for All.
And Justice for All, like where it's on 1 hour.
I should check what other Metallica album lengths are. I think they're all kind of on the long side.
Yeah, they are. Okay, I'm kind of tired out.
Yeah, same. Okay, well, this has been episode 23 of the ODcast. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Comment.
Yeah, tell us how wrong we were about anything we said.
I think we're going to have a lot of haters, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope the Slayer and Metallica fans find this and give us a piece of their mind. I'm sure we insulted a lot of people from both camps.
We shall see. That's all good. Thank you so much for watching. You guys take care.
Yo, this is the ODcast. Hey.